The confused President Biden puts his foot in his mouth again, and it couldn't have come at a worse political moment for him. I'm Guy Benson, in for Kennedy again. Thank you so much for being here. So by virtually every measure, it's been an awful week for the Biden administration. On Monday, a judge shot down that mandate that would force all of us to wear masks on planes and trains, as we all did for so long. And then yesterday, they announced their plan to appeal said ruling because science or whatever. At the same time, the White House has been insisting they're going to end Title 42, which is a pandemic-era tool used by border officials to rapidly expel illegal immigrants entering the country. A growing chorus of Democrats slamming this idea, saying it's bad policy and, probably more importantly, a political loser. Today, a reporter asked President Biden about Title 42, which again is the immigration issue. His answer? A cringy mess.
On Title 42, sir, are you considering delaying lifting Title 42?
No, what I'm considering is continuing to hear from well, first of all, there's going to be an appeal by the Justice Department, because as a matter of principle, we want to be able to be in a position where if in fact it is strongly concluded by the scientists that we need Title 42, that we be able to do that. But there has been no decision on extending Title 42.
What is he talking about? Oh, he confused Title 42 with the mask mandate ruling. The medical term for this, I believe, is a brain fart. They've been happening a lot, haven't they? Hours later, the White House issued a clarification under Biden's name, saying, quote, I want to clarify that in comments at the conclusion of my remarks this morning, I was referring to the CDC's mask mandate, and there is no Department of Justice action on Title 42. Call me crazy, but that correction didn't exactly infuse me with confidence that he has a solid grasp on either issue. And by the way, he still didn't answer the question on Title 42. Now, back to the masks, which, once again, is a separate matter. Guess who is weighing in? Noted constitutional scholar Dr. Anthony Fauci. That's who. Of course he is. Appearing earlier on CNN Plus, RIP, Lord Fauci said this.
And we are concerned about that, about courts getting involved in things that are unequivocally public health decisions. I mean, this is a CDC issue. It should not have been a court issue. So
with all due respect, Doctor, the CDC has zero legislative power, and it is not at all exempt from judicial review. The way I see it is that this is Fauci seeming to believe again that his own sense of propriety is tantamount to a co-equal branch of government. It's both revealing and a major part of the problem. Let's discuss with tonight's panel. New York Post columnist Carol Markowitz is here, radio host, Democratic strategist, and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall as well, and ECHELON Insights analyst, plus she's an author, Stephen Kent is with us. Carol, Dr. Fauci, we'll all recall, has informed us that he is the science. He himself is science. Yeah. Now he's also the law. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah, it really is amazing because I hadn't heard from him in a while, and I quite enjoyed that. I think it's really wild that he continues to be on our television screens. He's actually responsible for a large amount of the misinformation over the last 2 years. I wish that somebody would hold him accountable, but nobody does, and he continues to just spout random things on television. And I mean that because one day he'll say one thing, the next day he'll say another thing, and nobody ever says, wait, you just said something different on Monday and now it's Tuesday. I would love to never see his face on our TV again, disappear into, obscurity the way he should.
His face is right next to your face.
Let us move on.
Literally on the screen. It's like a screenshot. Like you've got, picture in picture. There they are. Look at that. The
Dang
two
it,
of them. The odd couple right there. But I understand what you're asking for. Maybe someday in the future, there's more hot air coming out of Dr. Fauci than apparently whatever leaf blower is operating in someone's neighborhood. Leslie, let me ask you this. As a Democrat, is it helpful to your party to have Dr. Fauci spouting forth with these various pronouncements as we get closer and closer to the midterms? Because I think it gets people like Carol extra itchy to go out and vote.
It's true.
And it sounds like Carol wants to cancel, and I'd like to cancel the leaf blower in my neighbor's yard. My apologies for that.
Now, I was wondering who was the culprit. It was the Democrat. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm going to blame the Republican leaf blower. Listen, Anthony Fauci doesn't speak for either political party, but I can tell you who does and should speak, in my opinion, living with a medical professional who lived through the hell and may live through the hell again of a pandemic, and that is our healthcare workers, our medical professionals. And we don't go to politicians when we're sick. And we also, looking at the numbers from the past, we know that we can't trust everybody in this country. Not everybody will get vaccinated. Not everybody will wear masks. Not everybody will social distance. Not everybody even believes that this virus is real, that you can catch it, or that you can transmit it, especially to more of our vulnerable population, people who have, underlying conditions, the elderly, and the young. So, I don't think it helps. I don't think it hurts. I think at the end of the day, there are people out there who look at and believe science, whether they consider Dr. Fauci to be at the helm of that. And then there are people that don't. And that's part of the problem here. And that's why we're still having, more than 2 years after the onset of this, a discussion, a debate, confusion, and anger about masks and mandates.
Next time, Leslie, you should have the leaf blower literally in the room, and you could have that wonderful effect with your hair. It would be very dramatic, and I think your points would be even better. Stephen, here's the problem. There's a combination.
I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment.
It is a compliment. I don't even remember what I said, but it's a compliment for sure. There's an arrogance-ignorance combination here with Fauci. I'm not calling him ignorant on science, although there are plenty of doctors who disagree with him on some of these scientific points. He seems to be ignorant on the Constitution and extremely arrogant when it comes to his view of science or exemplifying or personifying science, as he said before. Couldn't he just maybe stay in his lane and try to persuade people, if he thinks that they should be wearing masks on airplanes for whatever reason, if he doesn't believe that the filtration systems work or what have you, shouldn't he appeal to that and talk about why masks are a good idea, as opposed to wading into the constitutional system of checks and balances as if, oh, what is this judge? Or this judge can't come in here and tell us what we're doing. Actually, yes, she can, right? That's our system.
Well, it's absolutely the case that all who gain power are afraid to lose it, and Anthony Fauci is absolutely not immune from that. But you will find, if you kind of look into the public polling here, that he does enjoy a little bit of public support over the perspective that masks should be maintained on public transportation. It's the case as of at least March that Republicans and Democratic voters combined agreed up to 58% that masks should maintain in those sort of public transportation environments. Now, more Republicans actually feel that way than you might expect, and I think that that's sort of a twisted normalcy bias that you sort of see in play. But it's really, really bad politics, and it's kind of shocking to see play out that the Biden administration would punt it back over to the CDC to make this move for them, because they're going to be the ones who eat it in November when people are mad that they got their freedoms back and then had them taken away again. It's the same kind of effect that you see play out with social welfare and benefits. As soon as the government gives something, they can never get it back without looking like the bad guys. And the Biden administration and Democrats are going to be the bad guys here.
Meanwhile, President Biden finding it more difficult by the day to keep his own party in line. Nervous Democrats in Congress increasingly speaking out against the impending repeal of Title 42, which we mentioned in the open. That's likely happening next month. That's when it's scheduled to happen. These Democrats rightly fear a border crisis morphing into a complete border meltdown. And it's no coincidence that a majority of the most vocal Democrats on this front are seeking re-election in November. Oh my, go figure. So will the White House actually listen to the party's concerns or push ahead on their own? All right, Leslie, it's rough out there for your party right now. The polls show that. We'll get into it with Tom Bevan in the next segment here, breaking down some of the numbers. A border crisis that is increasingly in the headlines and spiraling is probably not what the Democrats need at this moment, given everything else that's happening. Do you think the president would be wise to listen to this chorus of voices and say, maybe the whole Title 42 thing, let's punt that for a while?
if he were just politically motivated. And now some people are going to laugh or shake their heads. I don't think that President Joe Biden is motivated by the polls or by, people who are up for re-election in districts that are a bit red or purple or in border states. But you have a good point, Guy. Politically, immigration is one of the top issues among both Democrats and Republicans, and we can add independents as well to that. And so people who are up for re-election, especially in these border states or the more red districts within their states, are concerned about that. But here's the bigger picture, all right? Title 42, in my opinion, I know I'm not alone in this, is a Band-Aid on something that needs immigration, major reconstructive surgery. And that major reconstructive surgery is comprehensive immigration reform, which both Democrats and Republicans have been failing at in Congress in their responsibility. If we change and fix amnesty laws, people won't come here to apply for amnesty. They can do it in their home country, and that would be a problem solved, and no president would have to do that. It would just take our elected officials.
So the thing is, Carol, it's true that Title 42 is not like a cure-all solution to our immigration problems. However, it is at least a tool, maybe the only remaining tool that a lot of our officials have down there to deal with this massive surge and to then take it away during the height of the season with the problem already getting worse.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say you're getting rid of a Band-Aid, but it's a pretty big Band-Aid, and the blood flow will get, even more dramatic here over the summer.
Right. Yeah, Democrats can't decide if COVID-19 remains a pressing enough concern to force 2-year-olds to wear their masks on flights or contained enough to allow illegal immigrants to stream into the country. And the politicized CDC seems to be making all the decisions at this point, and they want whatever the far-left activists want. I think it's a real problem for the Democrats, and it's politically a problem, and it's just a problem for the country going forward. What do we want to do here? Are we going to take control over our border, or aren't we? And yeah, it's a Band-Aid. I absolutely agree. It's not enough. But the Democrats need to start somewhere, and the Band-Aid might be the place to begin. Yeah,
I mean, this decision to jettison Title 42 is a policy disaster that also happens to be terrible for them politically. And the Biden people are like, let's do it. We're going to stick to the plan next month. Stephen, call me a cynic, but it seems like these Democrats who did not care at all about border security, all of a sudden they're very concerned about it. They're worried about Title 42. Every single Senate Democrat last August voted against an amendment from Ted Cruz, which would have enshrined Title 42, protected it. They all voted no. They all voted against it 8 months ago. And then they've seen the light. It's like this come to Jesus moment. Oh, actually, Title 42 is vital, Mr. President. It's almost as if they are reading polls and focus groups and pretending, at least for a few more months, to care about this issue.
Well, I'd never call you a cynic, Guy, but I do defer actually to some of the wisdom here of Democratic strategist James Carville, who recently said that Americans generally like immigration. What they do not like is disorder or chaos. We just got out of the field at Echelon Insights with our April polling. And what we found on immigration sentiment does show this, that Democrats and Republicans united are livid about what's going on at the border. 58% combined disapproval. It's a huge number. But there are other huge numbers that we also found. Between 50 and 77% support for almost every solution under the sun. Building a wall, more drone surveillance, amnesty for dreamers, increased student visas and seasonal visas. Americans just want to see something happen. They're willing to accept almost any solution besides open borders, which is the only one that is underwater. But what we have right now is the perception of de facto open borders. And what James Carville said, chaos and disorder, and that doesn't work.
The chaos is bad enough now. 220,000 encounters and tens of thousands of gotaways just last month, and then you explode it when you get rid of Title 42. I mean, half of that number last month were Title 42'd back to Mexico and other countries. If that tool goes away, the chaos and disorder that the Ragin' Cajun warns about will be front and center, unavoidable, and I think that's why a lot of Democrats are like biting their fingernails on this.